helicopter is one of the safest aircrafts. Turbofans have the highest failure rate. This is as per the US Navy study that in the past 40 to 50 years, statistically, the failure rate of turbofan has been highest.
Hi all, this is Rahul from Satviki Innovations. Hope you're doing well, and today we have a really interesting guest with us, Captain Apurva. वो कौन है, क्या है, and what we're going to cover, let me explain that at first. So सबसे पहले, as you can see, हमारे पास बहुत सारी helicopters हैं, flight हैं, all about aerodynamics, and we are going to cover कि क्या career हो सकते हैं, how does helicopter, how would helicopter mean to your life, and what is the simple usage, हर रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में क्या काम आता है, कैसे काम आता है, तो all that we are going to cover. So please hook yourselves to the neck up and let's see what we have in store for you, and we'll have many more parts from this video, so keep watching. So let's start with Captain Apurva. So Captain Apurva, welcome, and thank you so much for giving us time.
Thank you.
Now let us know who you are, what have you been doing. As far as I know, you are a commercial pilot for helicopters, and you have also been ex-Navy officer, naval officer if I'm not wrong, and more light on that.
So I have basically served with the Navy for 10 years as a naval aviator. I got trained in flying helicopters with the Navy.
Okay.
It was partly with the Air Force and partly with the Navy. Air Force has its training school in Hyderabad, Dundigal, whereas Navy has its helicopter training school in Arakonam,
Okay.
which is close to Chennai. So we do our training in phases. These days Navy has started doing it independently also, and for me that was about 12 years ago, in 2013. I did my training half with the Air Force and half with the Navy.
Wow.
And post that I have spent 10 years, out of which I would say about 7.5, 8 years actively flying, and the rest 2.5 years in a different kind of a work in the Navy.
Absolutely, that's a huge and a lot of thing for most of our viewers. Great, thank you. So if I ask you, can you simply for our listeners जो भी सुन रहे हैं, aerodynamics real world में क्या होता है, and especially when it comes to helicopters and drones?
So when you ask this question, what is aerodynamics? So in a very technical way, aerodynamics is dealing with anything where you're trying to lift any object heavier than air in the air.
Okay.
And in a very crude basic technical sense, aerodynamics consists of fluid dynamics and gas dynamics, whereas in which gas dynamics dominates the field of research and flight, because it affects more.
Okay.
Now, if you are talking about in real world terms, so what I interpret by that is basically what you are asking is कि practically उसका क्या मतलब निकलता है. So it's become a vast field these days. It's very difficult to give it a crude definition or shorten it down. And if you start studying into aerodynamics, it is not going to be easy.
Okay.
And when you incorporate drones and helicopters into it, for helicopters, the term used is rotor dynamics.
Okay.
Rotor dynamics has bifurcated as a separate field these days. There are courses and advanced masters which deal only with rotor dynamics. Drones are to a large extent a subset of rotor dynamics.
Okay.
The drone started with the study of quadcopters, basically drones with 4 rotors. But these days, in the past half a decade or so, the structure of drones has also changed. There are some drones with 6 rotors, there are some drones with 12 rotors. But it did initially start with a quad rotor concept, which came out of rotor dynamics, wherein a drone with 4 rotors was made, which is also the most popular drone that you get.
Absolutely.
Most drones have 4 rotors in them.
Absolutely. जहाँ भी मैंने भी जहाँ देखा है, so we have a sample here. So mostly I see. का जो experience है with helicopters, so how do you describe getting inside a helicopter, taking off and navigating from the above? How does it feel like?
So in one word, if I have to encompass it, it's a lot of freedom.
Oh wow.
So it's like the best analogy that comes to my mind is that if you are, let's say, floating in the middle of the ocean and you have the freedom to move.
Okay.
The only difference is in water you can only move two-dimensionally, forward, back, left, right. You can maybe go down also, but
But up to a limited extent.
Limited extent.
Okay.
In helicopters, you have that three-dimensional freedom. Especially, there's a saying in aviation that to hover is divine.
Oh wow.
So hovering is a skill which different people take different times to master
Okay.
at the initial training stage, and the sense of freedom that it gives you is unchallengeable. You can't get it from anything else.
अगर हम आम लोगों की बात करें, so I've seen many misconceptions कि ये बहुत महंगा है, बहुत पढ़ाई करनी पड़ती है. So I would like you to explore few things that people always get wrong or misunderstood about flying helicopters, drones or flight.
So I would like to say कि पढ़ाई तो करनी पड़ती है, उसमें there's no doubt, but there's a general perception that helicopters are unsafe.
Yes, ये मुझे भी personally लगता है.
But on the contrary, helicopters are much safer aircrafts in aviation. It just depends on how you utilize them.
Yeah, and I remember जब हमारी पहली मुलाकात हुई थी, so I asked this question also कि flight में तो you have two engines, but helicopter में you only have one engine rotating the blades. So if that fails, what happens? So yeah.
So a single engine helicopter is statistically one of the safest aircrafts, I could say, because most of them use a turbo shaft engine.
Okay.
There are helicopters these days which have multiple engines, giving redundancy. But there is a study by the US Navy about 8 to 10 years back, if I'm not wrong, which does a comparison statistically of turbo shaft, turboprop, turbofan and turbojet engines. These are the four primary engines that are used in aviation. Fighters के पास turbojet होता है. Most single engine helicopters have a turbo shaft engine.
Okay.
जो normally you see in a commercial airliner, that's a turbofan. And turboprops are the ones which have a propeller in front of them, which you see on smaller commercial aircraft.
Yes.
So statistically, turbofans have the highest failure rate in the past.
Really?
If you have this is as per that US Navy study, that in the past 40 to 50 years, statistically, the failure rate of turbofan has been highest. It can also be attributed to the fact that the large number of engines used in the world are turbofan engines. But statistically, the failure rate of a turbo shaft engine is 1 in a million. So if you do 1 million sorties, then maybe once it may fail.
That makes me to believe कि helicopters उतने unsafe नहीं है जितना हम सोचते हैं.
Yeah, definitely. And even if a lot of people are get worried कि एक single engine aircraft है तो क्या होगा, जैसे आपका सवाल आया था. So helicopters, single engine helicopters can easily be recovered using a phenomenon known as auto rotation.
Okay.
If an engine fails. Going into it will probably elongate the time, so I'll not get into it.
All right. That makes us believe. Yeah, I have been very skeptical about getting on to helicopters and how safe is it, because हर दिन कोई ना कोई news आती है कि crash हुआ या फिर ये fail हो गया. So thank you for clarifying that. Now moving on to the next question before we move on to the next section altogether. So can you walk us through what happens from the moment a helicopter prepares liftoff until it lands back after flying? क्या होता है एक short nutshell में अगर बात करें तो?
So like any aircraft, this is a common phenomenon in commercial aviation, or for that matter military aviation or civil aviation. The start of a sortie is from the checks and procedures.
Okay.
So your checks and procedures start from the time you start walking towards the aircraft. You are looking around the aircraft externally, then you're looking internally. There are multiple checks that you have to do. That's why aviation has a long list of
checklist.
checklists.
Yes.
So, like a normal airliner, also helicopters have also their own checklist.
Okay.
And since helicopters, operate in different terrains, sometimes the same aircraft and the same pilot may, after a month, be operating in a completely different terrain. The checklist also can be sometimes be slightly dynamic.
Oh, it is dynamic.
It
It's
is
not
dynamic.
fixed. Okay.
They are fixed, but there are certain things which are specific, terrain specific also. So there are amalgamations and modifications that happen to the checklist, which generally I would say would not be there with commercial fixed wing aircrafts. There would be less, their changes are not so dynamic. For example, if you're flying over high altitude, we have to, the basic fundamentals remain the same, but there are certain things which become more crucial, and we have to look into those things. So from start to end, in civil aviation, a lot of checks are involved.
So if I want to give it a number, how many checks? So what would be the range? 50 to 100 checks or 100 to 200 checks? In any number you like to give, approximately.
In a 1 to 1.5 hour sortie, you must be crossing 100 checks overall.
Wow. Inside and outside both.
Inside, outside, in flight.
Wow.
So the quantum is quite large, and this is the reason why you have to study.
Oh yeah.
पढ़ाई से आप
पढ़ाई
पैसा
करना
नहीं
जरूरी
छुड़ा
है.
सकते.
And next up is we are going to enter into the drone technology. Drone के applications क्या हैं, and also we'll have rapid fire round for you guys. So keep glued and keep watching. We will meet you in the next video. Thank you so much.
I'm really glad for this opportunity from first of all